Thank you for joining us. This is Health Your Own Way podcast, and I am your host, Mo Atkins. Today's episode is called The Conversation You Need to Hear, How I Fell Into Trafficking. And my guest speaker today is Sariah Hastings. She's a survivor of human trafficking in the United States. She has an associate degree in biblical theology and a published author. I really am honored to have her on this podcast today because I think, not because I know she has a story. I think a lot of people need to hear this, parents, family, anybody, even my age, because you never know how you can get into the game. So, Sariah, please introduce yourself and anything you feel like saying.
Hello, my name is Sariah Hastings. Yes, I am a survivor of human trafficking. I no longer consider myself a survivor, but an overcomer because of what Jesus Christ has done in my life and through my life since I've left the game. I call it the game because that's how I grew up knowing it as. And so, because of that, it's a way of showing people what true life really looks like. You know, the scripture that says that. Satan came to kill, steal, and destroy, but he, who's Jesus Christ, comes to give you life and life abundantly. And so that is what I do now. I live life to the fullest in Jesus Christ.
I appreciate that. And I think a lot of people are going to be asking, like, what is the game? But we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people are, I know I did some research on you and I found that, you were in the game for 20 years, but specifically at what age led you into prostitution, if you don't mind me asking?
So my story is completely different. I know a lot of survivors who fall into that lifestyle of human trafficking. However, I grew up around it,
Oh,
so it wasn't really it wasn't nothing new to me. My family told me that the best way for me to become a girlfriend to someone or be married to a man was I would have to be in a pimp and hoe relationship. So that's how my life was. And so at the age of 12 is when I um, felt, well, you would say, fall into it or started the grooming process or the preparation of being an actual prostitute at the age of 18. So from the age of 18 onward, it was my life. That's what I lived. And that's, I lived in 33 different states because every state I would move trying to start a new life. This is different. It's going to change. I'm not going to do this stuff no more. I'm not going to sell my body anymore. I'm not going to be involved with pimps anymore. And every state that I touched in, I started all over again. It was a vicious cycle until I finally came to the end of myself.
I'm sorry about my face, but when someone
Yes.
tells me that, they were around it, I can understand being around it, but then to have your family member insist that this is the only way life should be at the age of 12 is borderline child abuse and very wrong. I don't know what to say because I didn't expect that from you, Sariah. What you were going to say, I just wasn't expecting that because
Yeah.
most people assume, like, let's step back for a second. Most people assume that people that get into that kind of lifestyle is because they ran away, right? Or because they granted some issues at home and they ran away. But for a family to encourage that, um, it never occurred to me, and that maybe I think that is my ignorance a lot. And I appreciate you mentioning that to distinguish yourself from that, just saying that there is an actual side that people, their families are out there doing that to individuals. And I think when someone's listening to what you're saying, I was actually very curious to find out what was it like being, if you don't mind me asking, what's it like being in that specific field, like the ups and downs, like, are you, is it something that, you finally have to get a pimp or how you even, like, because you said you kept going to different places. So if you go into different places, then you have the control. Well, I think you would have the control to be in a different environment, try a different job. But how did you fall back in and find those people that resemble what was in the other states? If you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Okay.
So usually what happens, and this is not just with me, but this is in general, a person who is insecure of themselves is a prey.
Okay.
And so, meaning this, when I grew up, my family would tell me that I was fat, that I was, a pig, a cow. Where's the beef at? They would say all kinds of names to me as a kid. And so growing up, that's all I heard. So when a man steps to me and says, "Oh, you're beautiful,"
Okay.
so the insecurities, and that's why I talk to, and when I do, interviews, I try to be very frank. Parents and family members are the key in raising children. And if they do not encourage their children and they belittle them and talk down to them and treat them any kind of a way and say only anything when they go out there in the world and they hear, and this is for a boy, a man, a girl, a woman, they go out there and they hear these great, glamorous words. You're beautiful. Oh, you're smart. Oh, you look this way, or oh, you can sing, or oh, you can talk, or you can do this. Then you fall into it. It's, and a lot of people, they think that it's with abusive homes and different things. This hits on every level. This isn't just one specific level. This is all levels. There are, people in colleges that go to college, and I've, and I've said this in many interviews. They'll send out text threads that says, "Hey, do you need help paying your student loans?"
Sorry, hold on.
Now,
No. Sarah, you don't just say that. I'm sorry. I was with you, Sarah. Sorry, I was with you up until you. What do you mean they send text messages about how you need help?
yeah. Yeah, they'll send. So a couple of years ago, some college kids came to me and they showed me a text thread that had been sent out and saying, "Hey, are you struggling with paying your student loans? Would you like to earn extra money?" Now, to anybody that's, you know, don't know the game, don't know the lifestyle, they think that that's normal. And what's the problem with today is people are apt to text quicker than they're actually to talk over the phone. So when they get a text message, they'll text back, "Yeah, sure, great. How can I earn extra money?" And then they'll send back, "Oh, okay, come and meet us at this place at such and such date and such time." "Okay, cool, I'll be there." And then here you go, not knowing anything. You go off, and with the clothes that you have on your back, honey, you've walked into the game. You've walked into that lifestyle. And so now people, think, okay, how it's just, oh, people choose to, I've heard people, they've read my book, and I've heard people talk to me and say, "Oh, I thought that women chose this lifestyle." This is not a choice lifestyle. No woman I know wants to wake up being beaten. No woman I know wants to wake up one day and say, "I want a gun in my face," or "I want a knife on me," or "I want thousands of men to run through me and do whatever they want to do with my body." That's not what women, children, men, anybody wants to happen to them. That's not their lifestyle. And so, I am not no saint. I am a sinner. I've done things that I'm not proud of, and that's why I'm speaking out, because I've been on both sides. I have pulled women and had women go and prostitute for me, and I have been one that was a prostitute. So I've been on both ends, and now it's time to stop the cycle and to save these people. And that's what now I do. And I only learned how to do that because I was saved. And when I got saved, that's when they said I learned what was true life, and what was really my beauty. It's not by what no man says to me or how I may look, and that's where it comes at the end of the day. Your insecurities and being naive to what you assume or think that is okay. Most people, they don't realize that the hip hop world, the nowadays have there are only two messages that they put out there: drugs and sex. That's all they talk about. Or if it's not drugs and sex, they're talking about killing somebody. So that's all the hip hop world is talking about, but they make it look glamorous, and it's not glamorous. And
It's not.
that's another way a lot of people fall into it. They think that the life is glamorous.
Okay. So
Oh, the
then,
money, the cars, you get all the girls. It's not glamorous.
is that what is that's would you say that's what's called a game then? Because we remember the game. We mentioned what the game was. Like I was going to ask you what the game is. So you need to come back and tell me what the game is. So I
So the game basically is Russian roulette. You're playing with your life.
okay.
That that's the
You're
game.
making my neck snap. Stop. Like you're literally making my neck because I think I'm
The game is
honestly.
the game is the game is basically this. Every day I had to wake up to see if I was going to live to see another day. That's the game. That's the game that they play on the streets. Are you going to be able to make this money? Are you able going to be able to stay in this hotel or whatever place, or are you going to be beaten or whatever? You know, people don't realize that when people go to strip clubs, and I know organizations that go into strip clubs to help women and things like that, they're being human trafficked. So when you go into strip clubs, you're talking about a lucrative business that people are going and spending money on women who get beat. And if a woman says she don't get beat, then she's getting manipulated and she's getting played. But at the end of the day, that this is a reality. This is life. This is not, a Pretty Woman. I can't stand that movie. But if you really watch that movie, I can't. But if you really watch that,
it's not reality.
But you know what? If you really watch that movie, Pretty Woman, because I've walked on Sunset Boulevard, I know what that life is all about. And I tell people, there's a girl in that movie that was with Julie Roberts, her little roommate.
Yeah.
And if you notice, she would always be stressing, and I need to get this money to this person, and I'm going to get beat, or I'm going to. That's real life.
Yes.
That's what really happens, not the Pretty Woman. There's very few women that have their knight in shining. Mine was Jesus Christ. That's my knight in shining armor. He saved me, redeemed me. He set me free. He made me a daughter of the Most High. Like, I don't have to worry. But when you got women that are out there on the streets, men, children, I've seen girls 14 years old, 15 years old out there. You can't tell to try to get a 14-year-old girl off the streets when her daddy is telling her this game. He playing a game with her because he tells her, you do this, you do that. She could wear Versace, Gucci, Prada. She wears the BCG. She wears True Religion clothes and all the fancy names and all these $100 things. That has nothing to do with it.
Okay, materialistic things are nothing. Like, I think there should be more in life than that. But I know that you wrote a book called The Game. So, because you explained the game, may I ask why you initially wrote that book called The Game? Like, why you felt that it was necessary to write that book?
So, No More Games is basically, at the end of the day, me showing that I'm no longer allowing this world to play games with my life. That I'm not allowing the devil, Satan, to play games with my life. That Jesus Christ is my rock, my salvation, my stand still. He's the one that gives me life, because being in the world or in the lifestyle, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on. You hear people talk about wifeys and this and that, and oh, that's my daddy. No.
I have one dad. He's not. I can't use the terminology daddy. I don't care. Use daddy, fatty, patty, whatever you want to pick it. I cannot use that terminology. I don't care. I would never call my boyfriend, my husband, daddy. Are you kidding me? What is daddy? Is my no? Okay, sorry. Yes, Sariah, go ahead, please.
I understand, but it takes it out of full context, and so they are the ones that support you, and they make you feel like they are the ones that sustain you and keep you and provide for you. Well, in all honesty, Jesus Christ is the only one that can provide for you. He says that he's Jehovah Rapha. He is the provider. He provides. I'm a single mom, and I've been out of the game for almost 10 years, and I've been, thank you, and I've been able to go to college when my family said that I would never amount to nothing. And I went to college without a dime, and the Lord provided to where I graduated a Bible college and have zero debt. He provided all the money I needed. He still provides for me. And that is the beauty of who Jesus Christ. He's not only just a provider, but he's there to sustain you and keep you. And he gives you hope and a future, and he gives you substance and a ability to feel like you're worth living. Where when you're in that lifestyle, when you're in the game, the fantasy of this world, that all this materialized world will sustain you, he gives you a purpose to live. He gives you wanting to help other people and wanting to strive to be a better person.
I can see the passion in you. I see it. I hear it. Now, for the people that are listening, because some people may not be as, religious as you, or feel that kind of power itself, and let's say they can kind of resonate with what you've gone through,
Mm-hmm.
and they're seeing that kind of, if they're struggling, what is the first step to get out of the game, right? Or even before we go, for even parents that know I'm someone that may be part of the game, like, they may have not been abusive to their kids, but they've been insecure to a certain extent, and they got a boyfriend that got them into the game. How do you help somebody get out, or what are the tools to get out of the game?
So the way I got out of the game, me personally, is I called on I called on Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I came to the end of myself. I was pregnant and I was done. I had lost my first kid at 22.
Oh.
I walked away from my oldest and stuff because of the lifestyle, because of the drugs and alcohol and the drugs and the men and all that lifestyle. I left my child. And so when I came up pregnant again, like almost 9 years later and stuff, and I was done. I had nowhere to go. I was suicidal, didn't want to live no
Oh.
more. Because I was used and abused multiple times, different ways. I was just done. And when I said I called out to the Lord and I just said, "Save me, I'm done." And I made my way to New England. And when I made my way to New England, I was able to find a pregnancy resource center, because I wanted to abort my child. I was also abortion minded, because why would a woman want to have a child and she been, a prostitute, she, been molested, raped all her life and everything. Why would she want a child, and all the things that happened to me and stuff like that? And I went to a pregnancy resource center, and they convinced me to keep my child. And I looked at them, I said, "Now when," they told me about Jesus Christ. I understand that there are many people that may not be religious. It's not a religion that I'm talking to you. I'm talking about a relationship
Okay.
with a man named Jesus Christ. That's that. Don't put it as a religion, because it's not a religion. It's a relationship. And so when you have a relationship with someone, you get to know that person.
But then there's some people that don't know how to have a relationship, and I'm not discounting how you get
Right.
through. Yeah.
And and this, so when you don't know how to have a relationship, then you just, like anybody else, you start asking questions.
Okay.
Right. That's what
That's
I did when I first came to know who Jesus Christ is. I started asking questions. I started asking, "Who are you?
okay.
What are you about? What do you do?" And he shows you in Psalms. He talks about, "Taste and see that I'm good."
Okay. I get what you're saying. I think what I'm really trying to make sure, like, I know that you found that, but you had to go through services to get that. You had to go to a like a crisis center, right? Like
Right.
those, yeah. So those things,
So
like,
those
well,
are the channels. Once you
yes,
call out, once you actually, in your heart of hearts, you come to the end of yourself and you're done with trying to figure out how to manage your own life, because you can't.
okay,
We as people cannot manage our own life. We are sinners. We can't. So after trying to manage and you're done with that, and then you call out, God places people in your life. So when I went to the Pregnancy Resource Center, they introduced me to Jesus Christ. I accepted Jesus Christ in my heart. Then I told them, this is the words that I told them, because I didn't believe in Jesus.
okay,
Almost 10 years ago, I did not believe in Jesus. So when I looked at them and they said, "Well, let's go," they said, "Well, would you accept Jesus into your heart?" And I looked at them and I said, "What else? What's the worst thing that can happen?
okay.
I
So
didn't did
basically,
everything else.
I get what you're
I didn't
saying.
did everything else.
I get
I
what you're
didn't
saying
went
now.
through. I didn't went through recovery homes. I didn't been in shelters. Then moved all over the country. I didn't been for men. What else worse can happen to me if I try this, man? Okay."
I get
And
what you're
so when I
saying.
accepted Jesus into my heart, then I said, "Now what?" Because I was homeless, pregnant, 4.5 months pregnant, and they convinced me to keep this baby. And I looked at them and I said, "Now what?"
Okay, I get what you're saying now. So
You see what I'm saying?
yeah, so for people that are watching, listening, it's more the fact that you have to be open to new things. At this point, you've reached it. You've reached it, a pivotal point of your life. Okay, go into those resources. Like there's a lot of crisis centers, there's community centers, there's help centers. Go in there, and whatever they are offering you, be open to that. Don't limit yourself. And then
Right.
yes,
And you find the authentic ones that are real, ones that are willing to do life with you, because that's what a Christian does. A Christian does life with you, no matter what. The woman that introduced me to Jesus Christ, the words that ring in my ears all the time is I will do life with you regardless if you are an asset or a liability.
That's fair. I like that. Now I understand more where you're coming from, because I want to make sure that, for anybody's listening, it's not more of like you just fall into Jesus Christ or whatever we want to say religion. It's just more the fact that you need to open your mindset to different
Right.
viewpoints and then be open to letting things that you never would let yourself in to
Right.
help you heal.
There was no way if you asked me, if you had asked me almost 10 years ago, Sariah, this is what you've been doing, I would have laughed. If you had told me that I was graduating from college, I would have laughed because I didn't believe that I would.
Come out of your comfort zone. You decide to come out
Right.
of your comfort zone.
Because you've tried everything else. If you
Perfect.
tried everything else in your life and everything has failed around you,
It
and you
doesn't hurt.
kept on, and every time, and I hear a lot of people, I take 2 steps forwards and I fall 3 steps back, or I take 1 step forward and I fall 5 steps back.
I get it now.
You can't constantly, once you get tired of doing that.
Yes,
You
you
get
do.
tired of going in this constant back and forth, and then you get exhausted mentally, emotionally. And that's where Jesus says, and that's why I try to tell people, it's not a religion. You got
It's
to
it's
when
hard for
you
people to realize that
and
if you
and that's true, and that's why I tell people. He says in his word, "Taste and see that I'm good." He tells people, "Come,
I get what you're
try
saying.
me,
I get it.
try me, see how I am." And I put it to okay. I took it as a challenge. Like, okay, Jesus, okay, you want me to see how you is? Let me see what kind of man you are, because all these other men in this world has done me dirty,
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
right?
I get what you're saying, because you know I'm only coming on the fact that I can tell there's other people that may not be that
Right.
open to it, but it's more the fact that okay, as I repeated said earlier, you've gone through this, it's open, try something different. And I think if anybody want to follow your journey further, how can they do so? Are you available on any platform, social media platform? You have a website. Like, how
Yes, so
can we follow you?
I do have a website. It's called Sariah.info.
Nice.
You you can just, if you have questions, or you want
I'll
to
have it there.
reach out, I do have a Facebook page. If you go to that website, you can click on the link and it goes straight to my page, and you can message me there. I do have a organization, a nonprofit organization that I'm starting, that's called Ashes to Beauty. Thank you, New England. And basically, what it does is it goes out and it helps, it feeds the homeless. I'm not a soup kitchen, I'm not that, but what I do is I make a meal, bring it out to them twice a month, and I say, listen, do you want to get off the streets?
Give them an option. I like that.
You want to get off the streets? Okay. I'm the bridge. Okay, here's some programs, because I went through a program. I went through a 2-year program that helped me learn who Jesus Christ is. And from there, once I learned who he was and he showed himself to me, because we are people that need to be shown. We ain't about just talking. You got to prove yourself. Like, let's be real. Like, when you in that lifestyle, it ain't about all running your mouth. It's okay. I need to see some action. Okay. And every time it says in his word, his word does not come back void. Every time he does something, it always comes to pass. Every time. Every
Everything.
time. So I say, okay, I can't, not okay, listen, hey, this is what
I
you want to do.
understand. I understand.
So what I do is I have men's programs that are willing to take men into their program and stuff, to help them, if they're on drugs or alcohol or whatever, and they're trying to get their life straight. If it's a woman and she has children, I have a couple of women homes that are willing to take them as well. I have avenues and stuff. If you're not in New England and you're in other parts of the country, and you know someone that needs help, because most of the time, 90%, 90, 98, 95, 98% of the time, women who are being human trafficked are hooked on drugs. I was heavy into crystal meth for years and stuff, because I did not want to live. I was dead. I just, it became, I was
I know
just
what you mean.
living. And so, what I tell most people is, the best way is to reach out to a church, a Bible church, because they know where to place, all these secular programs, these 30 days, 60 days, that ain't, that they don't work. They don't cut it. You have somebody in the program for 90 days and then they get out, that you just drive them up and now they're out there. And if they use you, you're potentially losing a life because it gets harder when they go out after they dry up. So you want some, programs that last a little bit longer and things like that. So reach out to your local churches. They have organizations that they can bring you and branch you to. Most churches knows different programs. There's a 211 for United States. It's a information number that you can call. That's what I called before I could get to New England and get where I am and stuff and started getting into the programs and stuff. I started off calling 211 and asked them, I need help. I need to get out. And they got me into a shelter and they kept on, and then it hasn't stopped since.
I like what you're saying, because I think that's what a lot of people need to hear, that there's a different avenues. There's not one way. You need to find out, reach out for help. And even then, if you feel uncomfortable reaching out, maybe following Sariah here, understanding what she does, what she offers, and trying to look for that kind of services of wherever in the country you're located, right?
Yeah.
With that, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I said, with that said, I wanted to know what's next for Sariah. Like, what are you doing next? Educate us.
So I wrote No More Games, and it's basically a glimpse of what reality looks like in the human trafficking world. Okay. And so now I have another book that I'm writing called Life After the Game. What does life look like after leaving bondage? Because I do call, in my book, I do write that United States, America says that we are a free country, but yet we have modern day slavery that goes on. Because I was sold from one pimp to another. I was physically sold from one man to another. So there is a modern day slavery that goes on in this world. There are women that are being trafficked in by pornography, by, like I said, strip clubs, then on the streets. There's different things. So when I talk about life, what does life look like? I have life these days. I love my child. I love what I do. I get to speak to women and encourage women, and I get to see women change and blossom and grow and get to know who they are in Jesus and know that they are loved and wanted and they have a name and they are heard. And that is the most beautiful thing. Like I tell most people, when you read my book, you get to hear my voice, because for 20 years I was silenced. And so you get to hear my voice. Now you get to hear triumph and victory in this next coming book. So between the next coming book that's called Life After the Game and the nonprofit organization, that is what's going on with Sariah right now.
Sariah is busy. You make your life changes, Sariah. You know what? I commend you, because a lot of people don't come out of the game. A lot of people, after coming out of the game, they struggle. And I think you took your struggle and you're like, okay, a lot of people need to hear my story, because there's people that be struggling, privately. And I appreciate this conversation because it saddened me, but it educated me. It educated me in respects to what a lot of people are going out. I think you're right. A lot of people assume that people just kind of choose, but sometimes people fall. But I didn't realize that sometimes it's due to the fact that some family members to push you into that game. And I want to say, before I let you go, thank you for your time. Yes. Anything else you want to add before we let you go, ma'am?
Just that if someone is hurting, or is, not just human trafficking, but if you're in a domestic violence relationship, because human trafficking and domestic violence relationships are the same. One is you make money and the other one you don't. So if you're in a domestic violence or you are in a depressed state, I just ask that you just reach out to someone. Like I said, you can call, you can get a hold of me at Sariah Info. Just reach out to someone, talk to someone. If anything, and you get in a point where you can't even reach out, because I know women that are in that state, cry out to Jesus and he knows everything. So I love every listener, and I just pray for y'all and just hope that, we can really, truly get these women and children and these men out of this lifestyle.
I like the fact that you added men at the end. I really do, because a lot of men, they're not. It's not that many, but there's young boys, yep. And there are men that are being, abused as well as being put in the trafficking. Yes. This has been very enlightening, depressing, but enlightening, and I appreciate. Like I say this because I know that it is good to hear it because then if I'm educated, I can educate other people, and creating this platform really helps. So thank you for being on this platform with me.
Thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you join us. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, share with anyone that needs to be empowered and inspired, and don't forget to join us next week for the next episode of Health Your Way Podcast. Have a good day, you guys.